bunch of teams that you don't think are going to lose will lose. Duke will somehow get to the Final Four and get killed by someone.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today for our NCAA Men's Tournament preview, our favorite administrator, because we got referee stuff to talk about too, Robert Abney. Robert, man, welcome and thanks for joining us.
I'm all about talking about referee stuff. You know that. Living the dream, man. Let's roll.
All right. And here for the common man and the regular person, team leader for life, Mike King. Mike, you ready to bust up a bracket and win some money strictly for entertainment purposes only?
I got Maryland going all the way, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, that's why you're not going to win. All right. Segment one, we are going to talk about, this is all men's tournament on a special edition. We're going to talk about the East and the South. Segment two, we're going to talk about the Midwest and the West. Then segment three, we'll still stick with the NBA. But first, okay, we're doing our region breakdown, fans. We're just talking shop. This is for the novice fan who doesn't know much, and this is for the fan who also knows that we know what we're talking about in terms of myself and Robert. Mike is Joe the fan, as the late, great John Thompson would say. So we followed men's basketball all season, and all season long we said it is wide open. Now, tomorrow when we talk about the women's tournament, we're probably going to talk about 8 teams. Right? But for today, let's jump into the East. Top 4 seeds, UConn, Iowa State, Illinois, and Auburn. I only have one sleeper team in the East, and that's BYU, because the Big 12 played good ball all year. Robert, looking at the East, is there anybody that catches your eye?
I don't know how anybody beats UConn. I just don't. I mean, Auburn is good because the SEC is a good conference, and Auburn is pretty good. BYU, I mean, they can score. I just don't think at some point you have to guard somebody, and I just don't feel like BYU can guard anybody enough to stop them. I have UConn coming out of the East, 100%. I don't have a sleeper there.
All right. And fans, let me disclaimer that when I say sleeper team, I am only talking about the first weekend and possibly making it to the Sweet 16, because I, like Robert, have UConn coming out of East. That's why it's only one sleeper team. Mike, you're the regular fan. What are you thinking about the East?
Well, yeah, when Maryland's bad, I don't pay attention to most of this stuff. But BYU beat Iowa State. Iowa State and Illinois are good. I know that. I've seen Illinois. I know Iowa State's good because I got someone on my social media post about every single Iowa State win. They're good. BYU beat them. BYU beat a lot of decent teams. They played a lot of ranked teams. So it wasn't some easy schedule. They earned it. I think they could be higher than a 6. So I kind of agree with you. BYU could go on a run, even though I think as far as the 2s and 3s go, this one's maybe the strongest. But yeah, BYU wouldn't shock me if they went on a little bit of a run. But yeah, UConn's the best team.
Yeah, at the end of the day, fans, we're picking UConn. So let's move to the South. Top 4 seeds. Thank God Robert's here. Houston is 1. Marquette is 2. Kentucky is 3. And Duke is 4. In terms of sleeper teams, I got James Madison. I got Vermont. John Becker can coach. And believe it or not, I got Colorado as a sleeper team that could just mess up some brackets. Robert, what are you thinking about the South?
I agree with you as far as James Madison and Vermont. I think both of those teams can win those games. I mean, James Madison, there are 3-4 teams in the bracket that have won 30 games, and they're one of them.
You can't sneak into 30 wins.
No, they're a good team. They're very good. And Vermont, Vermont actually has a kid local to where I am in Central Texas playing for them. So, that people around here are going to be following Vermont and make sure, see how they're doing. I kind of like Florida. I think Florida is a pretty good team. I like the way they play. The only concern about them is I think they lost a guy to injury today.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and so that it kind of remains to be seen how that'll impact them. In the end, though, the regionals in Dallas and Houston's going to be there representing, and I don't see anybody heading them off.
All right, Mike, what are you thinking about with the South?
James Madison, I agree. I mean, Big Ten, they make it so the teams just win at home. They get every single call when they get to the tournament, and they're like, "Oh, this is not how it works," and they lose. So I wouldn't be shocked. James Madison's been good from like the beginning. They went on a run from day one. They were really good. So that wouldn't shock me. Plus, I'm used to Duke getting some kind of easy draw. Everyone starts to fall out. So basing it on nothing but experience, a bunch of teams that you don't think are going to lose will lose. Duke will somehow get to the Final Four and get killed by someone.
All right. And I actually have Marquette coming out of the South because I am a hard-headed person. And although Houston will more likely to not win, that last game is going to stay with me longer than it probably should. So Robert's probably going to be right, but I'm going to stick with Shaka Smart, which is the first words we ever uttered on the Odd Coaches podcast. And when we get back, we're going to go Midwest and West on our tournament preview show. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, let's go to the Midwest. Top 4 seeds. Purdue is 1. Tennessee is 2. Creighton is 3. And Kansas is 4. Fellas, this is the bracket that I'm like, it's so wide open, it's crazy. Sleeper teams, I've got 7 teams that's going to mess up everything. Utah State, TCU, McNeese, strictly for entertainment purposes only, I got to check that spread out. Stanford could win. South Carolina could win a game or 2. Oregon and Colorado State. Robert, am I nuts, or is the Midwest wide open, or will the top 4 shut them down?
No, I'm with you. I think the Midwest is wide open. Couple of the teams that you mentioned are playing each other. Utah State and TCU. But
well coached. TCU so well coached.
Either one of those 2 teams can give Purdue problems. TCU is just. They are. I actually saw them in person this year. They are long and strong, and they get after you. And Purdue will have their hands full there. McNeese, that's another one of those 30-win teams. Like you said, you can't luck into that. Kansas is
broke up.
Yeah. Samford, I hear, I haven't seen them, They like to get up and down the floor, and that's not good for Kansas right now, especially since they are
Broke up.
Yep.
Injured.
Yep. South Carolina. You didn't mention South Carolina.
South Carolina's a sleeper, definitely.
I think South Carolina is going to handle Oregon pretty easily. Creighton. I kind of think Creighton's going to come out of that region.
I hope not. I'm going to Phoenix, and Creighton doesn't trip.
I like how they play. I just I've never had a whole lot of faith in Rick Barnes in Tennessee. It doesn't speak to me. That said, I'm hoping Colorado State can I'd like to see Colorado State make a little bit of a run there.
Yeah, they weren't kind to the Mountain West. Mike, what do you think, man? You're a regular folk.
So, like I said about the Big Ten, they like to let their home teams win. Purdue's going to have a lot of fans there, and they've got this monster. They got a bunch of guys who shoot threes, so they have a monster. A bunch of guys who shoot threes. They make free throws. I don't see a threat really, and then I think that goes with it being so wide open. If it's so wide open, it's going to mean with a bunch of upsets, maybe Purdue has a very easy run. So that's my guess.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Purdue only because if their guards just give that guy a touch, we should be in good shape. So that's what I'm going to go with. And Robert, you said Creighton?
Yep.
All right. Creighton. Okay. So in the West, top 4 seeds, UNC, North Carolina, 2, Arizona, 3, Baylor, and 4, Alabama. And in the West, Robert, I've got 5 sleeper teams. Michigan State is a low seed. Oh, God, no. Tom Izzo can coach, and that's usually when he makes a run. It's when he's not expected to do anything. 2, I am a homer for GCU. Go Lopes, because they actually can play. They've got hoopers. They've been in the tournament something like 3 out of the last 4 years. So yeah, I'm going with Grand Canyon. 3, New Mexico. Can't wait for you to tell me because they can play. 4 is Colgate. 1, Colgate's old. Man, old people win in the tournament. So I like them. And 5, I like Nevada. So, Robert, what are you thinking about with the West?
Michigan State. That's what it wouldn't have bothered me at all if they'd have put Indiana State in there instead of Michigan State. I don't need to see more of a 19-win Michigan State team. I just don't. Grand Canyon, yeah, I could see St. Mary's, making a run there. I really could see St. Mary's making a run to the Sweet 16. I don't think Alabama's that great. New Mexico is really good. They have 3 guards. They won on Saturday night with one of those 3 guards actually barely playing because he had the flu. But they have 3 really good guards. They have a kid named JT Toppin, who's the younger brother of the Toppins who are in the NBA.
Obi Toppin, yes. Yeah, is there a third one?
Yeah. I thought there maybe not. I don't know, but he's his younger brother, and the kid is an offensive rebounding fool. He cleans the boards. So, I could see them beating Clemson. I could see them giving Baylor a good run for their money. I could also see them getting beat by 25 because I've paid attention to New Mexico for a long time and they don't have real good tournament history.
Yeah.
Nevada's a good team. They're well coached. Steve Alford is you can say whatever you want about him, but Steve Alford is a good coach, and I could see them making a Sweet 16 run as well. In the end, though, I think that. I don't have a whole lot of faith in North Carolina, or Arizona for that matter. I'm gonna go out on a limb in this region. I'm gonna go with Baylor to come out of this region.
All right, Mike, what are you thinking about the West?
I think I always have Arizona. I think Arizona is always a 2 seed. I always put them far in the tournament. They always lose in the first or second round. So I'm done with that. I'm going Nevada, getting to the Sweet 16. I'm not playing the Arizona game anymore until they prove it, because I think I've lost 4 brackets on that in the last 15 years. So I'm going to have Baylor, I think, go out. I think I'm going to have Baylor go out of that region, because, yeah, North Carolina, yeah, I kind of like Baylor because I think Arizona is going to do what they always do to choke, which means this will be the year they go on the run.
I'm gonna actually go with North Carolina begrudgingly because I'm going to Phoenix, and I don't want Baylor in the Final Four. I want the people who go have some fun with me. But out of all of the teams, who got left out that you care about? They tell us that the last 4 out was Oklahoma. I didn't care. Seton Hall, nope. Indiana State should have been in. But hey, you stink in your conference tournament and some upsets happen. Sounds like a lot of you, not a lot of me. And Pittsburgh didn't make it. Robert, is there anybody that you think should have been in that didn't get in?
I'm Indiana State was the one for me, and I agree with you. I mean, they knew they probably knew they really needed to win their conference tournament, and they didn't, and that's what happens. And like I said, I don't need to see a 19 win Michigan State team. I don't. I don't understand. I truthfully don't understand why they're in. I don't think they deserve to be in. So that's really the big one for me. I mean, Oklahoma, okay, sure, St. John's. So I mean, St. John's wasn't even in the conversation.
No.
And everybody, there were a bunch of people I saw on Saturday night who were like, they're either the last team in or the first team out.
And none of that shocked us because we followed the net all year. Mike, you're the regular person. What are you thinking? Anybody that should have been in?
I mean, if 7 or 8 games go differently, Maryland's they were right there. Indiana State, they're analytically ranked really high. They won their regular season. They lost to a good team in the finals. So, I mean, that's the one that jumps out.
Yeah. All right. So, fans, with that, when we get back to the OCP top 10 in the NBA, and then we'll wrap up with some congratulatory notes. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA SAVE Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast, and in segment 3, NBA. We haven't forgot you, NBA, but this time of year, we try to balance the both of them. OCP top 10. 1, Boston, and Boston is clearly like getting distance with everybody. 2 is Denver. Hey, Robert, Denver is magically the top seed in the West right now, and it's the middle of March. Are we all shocked? 3, Oklahoma City. 4, Minnesota. 5, the Bucks are playing better. 6, the Clippers. 7, the Cavs. 8, New Orleans. 9, Sacramento. And 10, the Knicks. In the East, top 6, Boston, Bucks, Cavs, Knicks, Magic, Pacers. 7 through 12, Heat, Sixers, Bulls, Hawks, Nets, and Raptors, and Bum City, the Hornets, Pistons, and the Wizards are already eliminated from the playoffs. Robert, any thoughts on the East this week?
No, I mean, I think that one of the things that happens in a long season is, the teams that you expect to figure it out typically figure it out. And I think that's, Boston has been more consistent than everybody all along. And the Bucks have figured it out. I wouldn't shock me at all if that conference final is Boston and the Bucks. And I think that'll be a great finals if that's what we wind up with.
Yeah, Boston is like 9 games ahead of second place in the East. They've already clinched the playoff berth. The Wizards and the Pistons are already eliminated. But surprisingly for me, the Bucks and the Magic, who signed their coach to an extension, are much better. Mike, anything in the East catch your eye this week?
Boston keeps winning.
I love regular folks.
4 in a row, eight of the last 10.
That's analytics at its finest.
No one's gaining ground.
Boston keeps winning.
Boston keeps winning. I love it. All right, in the West, top 6. Denver's 1. I'm laughing because Roberts every week is like, it really doesn't matter. It's Denver. OKC's 2, and Mike is a legit OKC fan. Minnesota's 3.
OKC's 1.
The Clippers are 4. New Orleans is 5. I took the Zion bet a year early, and the Kings are 6. 7 through 12. The Suns. Why are the Suns 7? I don't know. Mavs 8. Lakers 9. Golden State 10. Houston 11. Jazz are 12. And Bum City, Memphis. The Rock made fun of Ja Morant on SmackDown, by the way. Portland and the Spurs. Robert, any thoughts on the West, sir?
Well, I mean, Denver is where we thought they would be. And truthfully, I think that's actually to both Oklahoma City's and Minnesota's benefit, because you don't want to have to play them before the finals. And so if things, shake out the way the conference is right now, OKC 2, Minnesota 3, they play each other in the conference semis. Nobody sees Denver until the finals, and I think that's really what you want.
All right. Mike, OKC, give us the news or anything else in the West.
OKC's 1 right now.
Oh, so that was a thing from last night to tonight.
Yeah, because Denver lost. So OKC's 1, and to me, I want the Clippers. Clippers are good, but I don't want. I obviously don't want to go against Jokic, and I don't want Minnesota because they've got a lot of size. Chet's a little bit undersized for that kind of matchup. But if it stays the way it is and you get the Clippers potentially in that round, and you could only have to deal with 1, and the Thunder beat all these teams. And everyone likes to say how young they are, and they're young, but they win in different ways. And they play defense. And they have a lot of guys who could shoot. And every day could be someone different. I mean, Shea is the consistent, but Jalen Williams could drop 30. Chet can go 20 and 15. Giddey's been great this week. If you've been following some of their games, he's been putting up like 20, couple games with like 20 and 6 and 6 kind of things. Like he's been good. Gordon Hayward's starting to get a little bit more minutes, and seems like every game he only shoots 1 3 and he makes it. I got to start for entertainment purposes only. Got to start putting some money on that one. But yeah, it's a well-rounded team. They've beat all the teams below them. I think the Thunder are going to surprise. I really do, because even though they're 1, I think a lot of people are like, it's not their turn, because that's how the NBA has always been. Time for a change. I think their turn could be this year.
All right. So story of the week is officiating in the NBA. In a meeting with the NBA's competition committee last week, the league office outlined an increased officiating focus on offensive players hunting out fouls and veering off pathways to the basket into defenders, and how those points of emphasis have impacted a decrease in league scoring, according to a memo that ESPN read and obtained last week. Those officiating focus, which was outlined in January and February, and Robert, you got to tell me why we're doing stuff in January and February, and these memos shared with referees and team officials are believed to have contributed to a recent decline in league scoring. In the memo, the league described itself as continuing to, quote, evaluate the state of offensive versus defensive balance with a focus on illegal guarding position and level of contact on pathways to the basket. Robert, you are our official. You have had a chance to go through my notes a little bit. Tell me what your thoughts as the professional in the room is about what the NBA is talking about with officiating.
Well, let me start with this. And regardless of what anybody says, that the officials in the NBA, those are the best basketball officials in the world, bar none. They are the best officials in the world. They are calling whatever they are being directed to call by the league office. So if the league office in January says, hey, we've got to make sure that we're not going to allow offensive players to try to seek out and initiate contact, when they go off their path to the basket to find a defender, we need to not reward those plays with fouls. Then that's what those officials are going to do. And it sounds to me like they did that. They told them, either don't call those plays or call those plays offensive fouls. And the result is you're having a decrease in scoring because the players in the NBA are so good that they're going to figure out what the officials are going to call and what the officials are going to allow them to get away with. And if in November and December, those plays are fouls, and then in January and February, those plays are no longer fouls, that's going to affect scoring in the game. So, I think that's probably what happened. And, they don't want less scoring in the game. So I don't know. I imagine there will be a correction of some kind. I don't know what that correction will be, if they tell them to stop calling those fouls or start calling those fouls again or what, I don't know. But the other part of it is, remember that once we get into the playoffs anyway, scoring tends to go down. So with it being so close to the playoffs, I wouldn't expect an adjustment this year. I would expect to see that adjustment next year.
Am I missing something? Because there's 114.8 points per game this year per team, and last year was 114.7. And if you go per possession, it's even more because I guess there's less possessions this year. So the NBA, again, as a public school teacher, data is all we do. And I'm looking at the data and it went up. So they must be like, you can make the data say what you want. I don't know who they're paying to hide their data, but I'm just looking at total points and it's up a tick.
So I would be curious to say, and I have not looked at the data. Mm-hmm. No reason to question what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wonder what that looked like at the beginning of January.
Yeah, it must be because I'm looking at Basketball Reference and they just have year by year. This is the most points per team per year since 1970.
Right.
And if you go to offensive rating, it's the highest ever by.
Well, and let's be honest. That's what you want. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to pay $75 for 2 seats and then shell out another $100 for popcorn and sodas.
Watch people miss shots.
to go watch a game that's 82-78. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
You could look at the Maryland attendance numbers and see that play out.
Okay. So with that, final thoughts. March Madness is here. And Coach Adams, wants to give some final advice to teams. So coaches, get yourself ready. One, be boring. Boring wins more than it loses. Guarding without help, boring. Contain and challenging on defense, boring. Limiting teams to one shot only because you box out strongly, boring. Making an extra pass on offense, boring. Passing up bad shots for good shots or good shots for great shots, that's boring. And to win championships, you got to be boring. So to close out, shout out to Iman Hill Sr. For 8 years, Tay Hill and I sat next to each other on the coaching staff at Hood College with our good friend and Maryland Hall of Famer, Tom Dickman. Tay went on to go to Frederick Community College, and he won championships there. And now Tay is the current head coach at Frederick High School, where he gets to coach his son. And Frederick High won the state championship for the first time in 42 years. I am so proud of him. I appreciate the fact that he looks to me as a big brother. And hey, man, you got that thing. And I just wanted the world to know how great you are. Very proud of you. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. Shout out to following, because 20 years ago we sat and lost at the buzzer. So it's good to see somebody win it, Xfinity. We'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.